The Detroit Public Library celebrates literacy with special guest, hip-hop pioneer MC Lyte.
Council, New York City. It's been a little cold today, Detroit, so why don't we welcome her warmly, MC Lyte.
Good evening. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you in Detroit. Don't mind my jacket and my scarf. I stay cold. It doesn't mean I'm ready to go. It just means I'm trying to stay warm until the heat hits me. And then at that point, I'll begin to peel off the layers. But thank you very much for being in attendance. I want to thank the Detroit Public Library and the commission for inviting me to even be here. This is the reason why I do what I do. And I wait to be called upon for events such as these, for organizations that are really ready and willing to make change within the community. And Detroit has always been here for me. So I definitely have to be here for Detroit and all of its people. Who am I with, though? Do we have any 70s babies in the house? 70s. Y'all represent. Okay, we'll dip down for a second. We got some 60s in the house. Okay, represent. Fred, what you doing? Okay, represent. We got any 80s babies? Okay. 90s? This is always fun for me to see because it's been quite some time since I've been in hip-hop. So I've gotten a chance to actually be in front of many generations of people, and now wherever I go, there are many. I do a lot of outdoor festivals, and I get to see the people who grew up listening to me, their children, and their parents. So it's definitely multi-generational, but what I'd like to say, with knowing that, many people know me for the music that I've done throughout the years, and then many people may know me from television as playing the smart mouth boss of half and half. But there's also a side of me which is definitely dedicated to the community. And there's usually, first off, I have to say to you, whenever I come in and I speak, and I do speak quite a bit, I never really know what I'm going to say until I look into the eyes of the people that I'm speaking to, which I think makes a world of difference, because it's somehow too pretentious of me to come up with something pre-written and I don't even know who I'm talking to or who's even listening to me. So I think it's really important that I make that eye contact with all of you first before I even can imagine what I'm about to say. But I can say this, because it is solid as a rock as to who I am. So even though I may blend and melt and reappear as a chameleon, I am still me. I am just able to converse and be with all people from all walks of life. So this is what I say, because it's me. Who am I? The chick that keeps spitting, taking back all my stuff that was bitten and rewritten. Dangerous liaison with the shades on, making sure that the track stays on. For days on end, I'll be that one true friend that'll always be around when your world falls down. I'm honest to the bone, no question. Suggestion you don't want to know, I give the truth, nothing less. That I'm sweet with a heart to fit and smart as a whip could feed me well, but I'm still hard to get. I'm like a calculus problem you just can't solve. Study me well if you want to get involved. And even after that, I'm still unpredictable. Now, who am I? I'm unforgettable. MC Lyte, born 1970-something. We don't even get into that. We can leave those details right out there. But you get the rhythm. I think somebody had an afro. You know the 70s. They messing us up now, though, because they're showing the Soul Train on TV1. Oh, my goodness. I was really born somewhere in that era. It's a little bit embarrassing now, now when I look back on it. But I can tell you this. I grew up in a single-parented home. And I was born with the name Lana Michelle Moore. It was almost Mary, but my father came in and said, no, she's not a Mary, she's a Lana. That's L-A-N-A, and my middle name is Michelle, and my last name is Moore. Don't be looking me up, though, man. No, it's okay. So, in any case, my love of music came to me very quickly, and all different types of music. Who here listens to stuff outside of hip-hop? I know we listen to rhythm and soul, I know we listen to a little bit of blues, or some jazz. Okay, so this is what happened. A lot of my time was spent in different areas of New York City. And I just want to give you a little background to me and how it is that I even arrived at being a hip-hop artist. In summertime, I spent a great deal of time in Rockaway, Queens. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's this little strip of land on the outside of Queens, not too far from Brooklyn. Probably the most forgotten land, but at that time it was you know, big business, big boom. And a lot of the baby boomers were born there. My mother was born in Rockaway, Queens, but my grandfather lived there, and there, along with my uncle, I would listen to the likes of the OJs, and D-Train, and Tina Marie, and Rick James, and the Mary Jane Girls, and Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the Isley Brothers, and that's where that kind of settled in as to, wow, this music feels good. And then in Harlem, I would spend time at my grandmother's house, my Nana, and all of my older cousins lived there, and I would get to hear hip-hop because it was actually funneling down from the South Bronx into Harlem. So I was there in Spanish Harlem listening to the Funky 4+1 More and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and Pebbles and the Treacherous Three, and I was taken. Like, wow, this is amazing. And my cousin would allow me to play her vinyl on her record player. So I was in heaven. I was listening to The Message and really thinking I was Melly Mel, saying all the words to the song. And then, of course, at home was a whole nother story with my mom. That was easy listening. Anybody know Barry Manilow? Okay, that's what I was listening to there. I was listening to Carole King, and who else was I listening to? Neil Diamond and James Taylor, and so I was, at that point, forming what I liked with regards to music. Dionne Warwick and Gladys Knight and the Pips and so many different types of music. And needless to say, we don't need to go into the Motown era because, of course, that was playing around the house. All three of those homes, my own in Far Rockaway and also Harlem. But that's where my love of music came into play. And I remember my mom, she dated a guy named Prince for a while, and he was one of the men at the doors of the Majestic Theater on 42nd Street. And they were part of a union, all those doormen. So they all knew one another. So if somebody came into town and they wanted them to see a play, they say, okay, she's gonna come see your play on Wednesday, and they're gonna go see your play on Thursday. So at that time, I got to see the Dream Girls, like the real Dream Girls. Watch your mouth, little youngins. I got to see 42nd Street and Dracula, and just like all of these plays that were just awesome to be able to see at that age, at 7 and 8 years old. And my mom always kept me in classes, whether it was an acting class or a voice class or a dance class, or something was gonna happen on Saturday, or else I was gonna drive her simply bananas. But she reminds me to this day that as we exited the theater, there was this long white limo. And I said to her, one day we're gonna ride in that at 8. I knew that all of the admiration that those people were getting on that stage, I wanted some of it. I didn't know how I was gonna get it. Because although I was in dance class, I still had 2 left feet. And although I was in voice, I still wasn't getting it. So I was like, what am I gonna do? So at some point I decided, after seeing Tootie, come on now, after seeing Tootie on Facts of Life rolling around on the roller skates, I was gonna act. I didn't know how I was gonna do that either, but I wanted to. And then at some point, as I was in school, I said, you know what, I'm gonna be a radio disc jockey. Because they sound cool on the radio, right? This is W, boom, boom, boom. And, so I said, wow, I want to do that too. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna make that come about, but I want my voice to be heard. So after being in school for some time, I decided that I wanted to write some rhymes like the rest of the guys were doing in the class. And I had a friend named Eric who would actually write my rhymes for me. And I was like, okay, this is cool. This is cool. He can write them for me. Until one time I was in Rockaway, Queens on the 3rd floor, and I heard somebody with a boombox downstairs playing Eric B. and Rakim. And it was, I came in the door, said it before, I never let the mic magnetize me no more with this fight to me. What? What's that? And I mean, I jumped out that kitchen as fast as I could, got down those stairs, and by the time I got downstairs, the song was off. But the song that was on was Salt and Pepper, the Showstoppers. And I was like, these are girls doing this. Oh, here we go. And right there, it clicked for me that that is what I wanted to do. And at some point, I gave it all I got, and then I just let it go. You know how you just give it all you got, and you go, you know what? Let go, and if it will be, it will be. And at 15, 16, I didn't know nothing about let go, let God, let it be, but I just knew that's what felt right. I must continue on with my life. I can't chase this. I let it be known. I rehearsed, I practiced, I did whatever I had to do to be ready for that opportunity, because I don't know how many times you've heard it, but there is no such thing as luck. It's actually being ready when the opportunity knocks, because I had run out of luck by the time I was in the business, and everybody, at first when you come into business, like everybody wants a piece, right? And how can we use you? How can we make money off of you? Because that's, at the end of the day, that's what it amounts with your success, is how much money can you make for other people? Or how much do they think we can all make some money together? That's how they say it. But in the end, I was invited to come in and audition for all of these roles, but guess what? MC Lyte wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for those roles. I wasn't ready to be in an audition room. I'm sitting there before somebody reading my audition. Anybody ever been to an audition? Like for acting? Okay, so you know you're supposed to like pick up those lines and deliver them. And I was like this the whole time, reading the whole, and when I finally discovered what an audition was supposed to be like, I was thoroughly embarrassed, and I really felt sorry for the casting director that actually had to put up with that audition. I wanted to contact him actually and apologize personally, but there's no way to find him at that point. But all of that is to say, when it came to MCing, I wanted it, so I practiced. I got my voice up. Did anybody see my mic sounds nice? Yes! Okay. Well, for those who saw it, great. For those who didn't, you know, BET, they gonna show that thing to the wheels. Well, for the most part, I talked about, you know, coming from my diaphragm and actually being able to project my voice without yelling or screaming, but just simply speaking from the diaphragm, as opposed to speaking from my throat, like which you may find a lot of the Jacksons do, like because they're saving their vocals. I use them, I spin them every chance I get. I'm speaking at the top, which can sometimes be very tiring, but still is part of who I am, and I always want people to truly get the essence of who I am, which is simply why I'm telling you all of this story. So what happened to me was this. My friend Eric, I told him after listening to Salt and Pepper, I want to write my own rhymes. He said, you know what, give it a go. So I started. And I started writing these rhymes, and then I became a part of a duo. And it was me and one of my friends from off the block, and I was Sparkle, and she was Dazzy. And we made up the group Pure Elegance. Funny, huh? I won't even begin to say the rhyme that we actually came up with. But I think through the time we realized, you said, oh God. I think through the time we realized who was about their business and who was gonna stay in it and who really wasn't. So I remained, and I kept moving, and I kept pushing. And then at about 16, I paid a visit with my friend Eric. He called me up out of the blue. Hey, there's these people, they got this record label. You need to go meet them. They're in Staten Island. So we got on that boat. Y'all know about Staten Island? Whew. You get on that boat from the city and it's cold as I don't know what. And I'm going to somebody's house that I don't know. And I'm just like, Lord, just take care of me, right? So we get there and everything is great. They hear my rhyme, I Cram to Understand You, which happened to be the first release. And I signed that, but in the meantime, I'm still in high school. And my mom always told me, you carry out that dream of rapping, but those grades better be good. And the moment those grades slip, you better say goodbye to all that hip hop stuff. So I said, okay. I mean, it was even to the point where there were nights when I wanted to go to a hip hop club and she'd make me write an essay. Y'all ain't hearing me. Who writes an essay to go to the club? In the morning, how are you? I'm fine, Ma. No, fine is not good enough. Go to the dictionary and get me another word, because you done said fine 2 days in a row. Really, that's the type of mom that my mother was, and being able to enunciate and speak. Oh, that was a big thing for her, and at that time, it got on my last nerve. Damn, I gotta say it the way I want. But now that I'm older, oh, do I appreciate her so. I mean, it is my, thank you. My livelihood. It's what makes me different when I do MC, and it's what makes me different when I speak. So I am very appreciative for all that she has done for me. But in any case, here we are. I'm in school. We put out this record, and I have the opportunity to actually graduate earlier. I was part of a program called the Co-op program. I don't know that you've ever seen the likes of this program. But you work 1 week, you go to school 1 week. You work 1 week, you go to school 1 week. So I was down really working at the World Trade Center for Bear Stearns, entering numbers and doing that all at the age of 15 and 16 years old. So I just knew, let me finish up this school. If I can get out early, then I'll work, and I was all set to go to Norfolk State University. I gave my money and everything, and I was ready to fly. And I graduated early because I doubled up my course the first part of the semester. And I went out to look for a job in the meantime before my college semester at Norfolk State University started. And I got a little job as a messenger, a foot messenger, and I would actually walk the beat of New York City. I counted it as my way of learning the streets of New York. So I got to learn downtown and the West Side and the Village and Gramercy and Chelsea and Midtown. I mean, it was for a 16-year-old from Brooklyn to actually get on the train and go all the way to the city and be able to see all of what I saw. It made me want for more. It made me believe that I could have a piece of that. It made me believe that I could be more than just some girl on the block in Brooklyn. So in the interim, I got a call from the guy that I hooked up with in Staten Island, the manager, the record label, and he said, you know what, you can quit that job. I said, and let me tell you something, we had those big pagers. You remember those big pagers? and all I did was beep. Okay, I went one of those big suckers on my waist, which you probably could see on the Lyte as a Rock, the album cover. Yeah, I was showing off. Yeah. So anyway, little did I know that that's like documented. So anyway, that big old pager went off, and I went to the payphone. He said, "You can quit now. We've got the deal." So that was great news for me, but I still had all intentions of attending school that September at Norfolk State University. And everything was happening so quick, and then my mom said, "You know what, I don't know that I want you to go to Norfolk State. It's too far. This is New York City. I don't want you to go that far. I want you to stay in New York." So I said, "Okay, I'll stay in New York." So I went and enrolled at Hunter on, I think, 68th Street in the city. And I went for exactly 2 days. And on the second day, we got the call for me to go to Denmark. With the record label was sending 3 acts. It was Audio 2, and Rex and Effect, and myself to Denmark. So it was really a choice that I had to make, whether I was still going to continue with school or if I was going to go to Denmark and then attempt to return to school after. I never made it back. I never made it back to Hunter. But what I can say is I've carried on the mission of self-education since then. I've even toyed with the idea of going to university online, but that too requires a certain amount of hours. And I think hindsight, when I look back, I wish I had gone, not simply because of the education, but because of the camaraderie that happens with a school life, with a college life on campus, and how you learn to look out for other people, and how people learn to look out for you, and you build this cohesiveness, somewhat like a village. And it's really important for me because I am an only child, and only children, a lot of times, how many only children we have here? We tend to think a lot about ourselves, don't we? Yeah. So we have to like sprout our wings and learn to depend on other people, and also to have other people depend on us. I think somewhere along the way I learned that I needed to be able to diversify. Diversify, who knows diversify? Diversify, okay. Well, you know what, I looked it up before I came. I use it so much. You know, there's some words that you just use until somebody says, "You used that wrong." Or it just, something is not quite right with it. Diversify isn't that word for me, but I tell you one day I was looking at properties, and I was rolling around, and I called my manager, Fred, here, and I said, "Wow, I came up on this property that looks like it's a foreclosure, and they have, what I call them, cinder? What kind of blocks did I say there were? I didn't say, you know, they're cinder blocks, right? Those big, like, cement, gray blocks. I think I called them cylinder blocks or something like that. And he said, "What? What'd you say?" I said, "You know, cylinder blocks." And he said, "No, like, they're cinder blocks." And I said, "Oh, yeah, sure. I'll take that." The point is, you can always use more than what you have, right? And a lot of times we use words that we don't even know the full definitions of. But when I looked up diversify, of course it said to make diverse. Okay, so then I had to look up diverse. And it said of a different kind, form, character. And then it also said something that I didn't write. Okay. But when I went back to diversify, it said to invest in different types of securities, industries. It said to produce different types of products, crops, etc. I knew somewhere in my life that I was going to have to diversify. Because hip hop is great, but it's not all to me. So what am I going to do to put myself in a position where I can still give to the world? But not only that, somebody only wants to take something that's worth having, right? I can give you an empty bottle I can give you this empty bottle, but it's no use to you. So I wanted to make sure that I still had my game tight and was together, so that even if I wasn't rhyming, I still had something to give the people. And then I look back at how important those moments when I said, wow, I want to be Tootie, or I want to be a radio jock, or now that I do voiceover, and I've done voiceover for AT&T, for Tide, for Pepsi, for Coke, for Nike, for the Stars Network, now Brave New Voices, and I mean, it's so many things over there. I've been doing voiceover now for 10 years. It makes me look at moments like those and say, how is it that I could get through those without reading? All of that required me to be able to read in order to get those jobs. In order to act on For Your Love or Half and Half or any of those, you have to read a script. I gotta know what those words mean. I mean, even beyond knowing how to say them. Like that, I have to actually break down the script and look up the words that are in it to make sure that I'm putting the right sentiment, the right feeling behind those words that are supposed to be my own. Because that's what acting is all about. I can't merely say the words and, you can't feel them. It's like when you feel an actor, well, can't you cry? Because they touch you. The words are like their own. If I'm in voiceover, and matter of fact, before they even would sign me to that voiceover company, they said, we want you to take a workshop. A workshop? I thought it was a setup. I'm in Hollywood, I'm like, oh, they got a little racket going. I said, you know what, let me go with it. It's worth the time and effort, because what if it's not? And it wasn't. And I went, and there was plenty of material to read, that's for sure. And it would have stopped for me right then and there, because I probably would have been too embarrassed and just left. But there was plenty to read there, and just like I go into any job setting in those studios, there's scripted material that I must read. And I think a lot of the young folks, and that's not to say you in here, but maybe friends or kids that have this dream of being a hip-hop artist, or being a singer, or being an athlete, or just things that don't involve me having to work out this math problem, or things that don't involve me having to read this or write this term paper. And in the end, boy, is it about your freedom. It is, because at this point, I think my last record that you all would know about was released somewhere between 97 and 2000. What else would I be doing? How else would I make a living for myself if I didn't know how to read? It's something that when you know how to do it, you take it for granted. You take it for granted, and I think it only hits me in times like these when I see statistics of people who actually don't know how to read. Or even those who know how to read but won't read anything beyond what is completely necessary for them to take, a foot after a foot. They won't read for enjoyment. They won't read to acquire more knowledge. And I just have to say to any of you who may be struggling with reading, that it is the most freeing concept ever to be able to read. It's so completely true, and it's really hard I believe for kids who are coming up in a circumstance where their parents are just functioning, it's hard because some people are scared for the next to learn what they don't know. And if you fit that description, or if you know of someone that does, it's so important to help them, to help build them up spiritually, to help build their self-confidence. Because many people will tell you, well, you don't need, the concept that I get, the picture I get is Precious. Right. Remember in Precious when Monique said, well, you don't need to know that. What you need to know that for? That's happening all around our country, where parents are too intimidated with what it is that their children are able to learn these days. And the thing is, to assure them that they won't be left stranded. To assure them that once I get it, Mom, I'm gonna show you, watch. Or I'm gonna teach you. So, all in all, when I think about the people and the organizations that I met with this afternoon, and the great strides that they're making, but yet the groundwork that's going to take, this whole city to turn the statistics around, when I see half of the adults here in Detroit don't know how to read, which I must say, I commend Detroit for even being real with those numbers, because I'm sure there are places across this continent that have numbers that look the same way. But the thing here is that you are addressing it, which is of grave importance. I want to share with you how I feel when I read. When I read, I feel like a whole new world opens up to me that I'm unable to somewhat conjure in my mind alone. When I read, the words jump up off of the paper. And there's some good material, that's what you need. Some good material and a dictionary. I don't play. I can be in a circle of people and you start talking a language I'm not understanding, but it is English. Oh, I'm pulling out the dictionary. And even if it's not the right moment, I'm gonna slide myself to the side and I'm gonna look up that word you just said. Because it's extremely important for people to speak a language that you understand, but it's more important for you to make the move to want to understand what people are saying to you. Holla.